Zendikar Rising preview season has come to an end, and with that, we have a whole list of mechanics to review. A few are old favorites, and a few are new this time around, as well as one, just plainly, I can't stand. But I will get into that when the time comes. So let's start things off with one we already know, we already love, Kicker. Basically, for those of you who don't know, Kicker is a way to add value to a spell, at least extra value. In addition to casting the spell for its CMC cost listed above, you can pay the additional Kicker cost, and it will give you, say, extra targets on the spell, or an extra added effect on top of the base effect listed on the card. This allows for all sorts of late game goodness, or mid game goodness if you're playing green. You can never really go wrong with any of these. My only real complaint on most of them is they tend to be a little on the pricier side for the little bit of extra added value that they have. But I get it, it's supposed to EQ some sort of advantage at an in-game type of scenario, being able to pay the Kicker cost to edge you over the final victory lap, giving it the extra +1/+1, tapping something extra that the opponent didn't see coming. I'm generally a fan of Kicker, and I can really see no downsides other than the pricier aspect. But again, I understand from a design standpoint that you don't want it to make you want to make it pricier, because if not, you just have all kinds of silly games that end turn 3, and this is standard usually, not modern. I do, however, this time around, am a little worried about the wording on a few particular cards, specifically say Inscription of Ruin. That says normally you can choose one, target opponent discards 2 cards, return target creature with CMC of 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's all well and good. Now, if you paid the Kicker cost, which is pretty expensive again, but that's fine, the way it's worded, it says choose any number instead of just the one. So at that point, it just makes me think, can I infinitely choose for my opponent to discard 2 cards? And if that's the case, then this is gonna be a bomb and a half in Commander, because you play it, you enact the Kicker, and then you just infinitely have everyone discard their hands, and it's like a board wipe, but for their hands. I like it. I hope it stays that way, but something tells me that there's going to be some sort of errata, or going, no, you get both, not any. But who knows? Who knows? It could go all over the place. And there's a red one as well, and I'm not looking at it right here in front of me, but there's a couple of different ones that have this sort of choose any wording to it, almost like a infinite cycle, if you will. Up next, we have the party mechanic, which is not a keyword ability like flying, but still is a themed ability nonetheless with the set. You are being tasked with forming an adventuring party of a cleric, a wizard, a warrior, and a rogue. You druids and bards, get on out of here. A creature can only take up 1 slot in your adventuring party, so if you had, say, a cleric rogue, you could only have them be your cleric or your rogue, so you won't get double bonuses, i.e. you need to have 4 different creatures with those subtypes to be able to get all the proper bonuses on some of these cards. And a lot of these cards are giving you ability based on how many of your party members you have. Say you have X is how many party members you have, or you gain life like 2 per party member, if you will. It's just kind of something they're trying out. I guarantee we're going to be seeing it again in the upcoming Dungeons & Dragons set. So kind of get used to playing with it, knowing how it works. I don't think it's going to be a legacy mechanic. I kind of like the niftiness of it, the mutate of it. But I think it's going to be a good mechanic all around. They're bringing back Landfall, and there was much rejoicing. Yay! With Landfall, you're getting an extra benefit every time you play a land, or every time a land comes into play under your control. So, you play a Fabled Passage, you sack it, you find a land, you play the land. That's 2 triggers, 1 turn. That sounds like one of those gross out videos your friends send you, like, hey man, did you see 2 triggers, 1 turn? Whatever you do, don't look it up at work, am I right? This is one of those mechanics that's really fun to play with, but kind of a pain to play against. The positive here, I think, is that it will be pretty much balanced with the set as far as a draft environment, because all colors tend to have a little bit of landfall available to them, but one color has a little bit more of advantage than the rest of them. That's right, I mean green. It's green. We all knew it was green. Especially ramp. Ugh. Ramp with this landfall. And that's made even worse this time around with an instant called Roiling Regrowth. It allows you to sack a land, then look for 2 lands and bring them into play. further breaking the already broke mechanic that we all love. I say all these negative things, and all I can really think about is the commander possibilities. And finally, we have the modal two-sided cards, meaning that they have two different functions, if you will. One side will be, say, a land, where on the other side will be something like a creature, an instant, a sorcery. They even have one that's just two different types of lands on either side. Unlike our tokens, though, that we've seen like this, we get to choose and implement how we play them and when we will play them. For example, say you play a land mode card with the land face down. It functions as a land for the rest of the turn, or for the rest of the game, up until the moment that you need that creature that's on the other side. And then you can pay the creature casting cost, essentially flip it over to the other mode and make it the creature. You lose the land, but you now have a creature. Or it's an instant, or a sorcery, or some other thing that you needed. Or if it's a two-sided land, you can just flip from one side to the other. I don't know if these are going to act as though at instant speed, how many times we can do it, and what have you, and count as a technical move. I can only assume that once you tap the land for mana, it can no longer be flipped, but I could be wrong. I mean, Wizards has surprised me with rulings before. Now, all this sounds good on paper. However, I hate these things. I mean, I hate them. I'm not against a late game turnaround and a usage of it. I actually really like the thing that it's doing. I just don't like that it's a two-sided card that makes you do it, makes you flip it over. Because I use sleeves. And most people I know use sleeves. So if I have a two-sided card, that they've done this before, so it's not like it's new, but I've always kind of hated it for this very reason, is I now have to either put it in the sleeve, say with the land facing out towards me, because I'm more than likely going to start it with the land. Then mid-game, when I decide I want to cast that creature, I then have to maybe flip it around in its sleeve, come with a second copy of the card with it already flipped around the other way, which is then a new sleeve I'm going to need. So if I have a premium sleeve on the deck, I now need 61 cards instead of 60. And Wizards tried to give us this workaround card a lot like the two-sided ones we've had before, like with Ixalan, where it's like a checklist, and it's like, hey, here, this is representing this side of the card, and what have you. But all that just, it screams, I don't know what it screams. It doesn't really scream anything, but I don't like it. As a poor person, I don't like having to buy extra sleeves or sleeving up extra things just for an extra cool thing. Now, this is going to work out really well in Arena and Magic Online, but as far as paper in-person play, I think it's going to slow play down a little, at least for most new-coming players. So that should wrap us up for the Zendikar Rising Mechanics Explained video. Sorry about that little I hate two-sided cards rant. Thank you for sticking around. Please leave a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. Leave me a comment. All the good stuff that helps this channel grow. And we're out of here.